A few news stories that I noticed. Palo Alto, the town, not the company, is looking for a robotaxi deal with Tesla, so they'll practice running the cybercabs there. We'll see what comes of this. Tesla has never yet produced a cybercab that can run autonomously on city streets. Waymo's been doing it for a while. Tesla seems to be falling behind, but maybe Palo Alto will be the place where they start demonstrating the Tesla product. Anthropic has made a tool that can take over the mouse cursor, so it's going to not just do vision of what's on the screen, it's going to be able to take control and perform basic tasks. So this is interesting, called computer use. So when a developer tasks Claude with using a piece of computer software, Claude looks at screenshots of what's available, then counts how many pixels it needs to move so it can click on things. So I'm not quite sure what the purpose of it is, but anyway, I know we've had tools for a long time that can record what you do and play it back. That's been in Microsoft Word for more than a decade. And I guess this would be some way to automate things. I'm not quite sure why you needed AI for it, but I guess they're imagining you'll have an AI to build a spreadsheet for you, and it will launch Excel and do everything, clicking on everything to build the spreadsheet. And maybe that'll be useful. We'll see how well it works. I've been talking about this for a while. Enterprises investing in artificial intelligence are so far not earning any money doing it, and they're beginning to really get fed up with it and argue about this. They say the percent of AI projects to get deployed has fallen from 55% to 47%. So, a bunch of people think about AI projects and plan for them and then just decide not to deploy them. That's certainly true of some of the companies I consult for. So, but that's true of anything new. You try it, you investigate it, and frequently you decide, well, it's not really ready yet. It's not really appropriate for our use case or something like that. But, I think the AI hype is dying down a little bit. Let me just check the Twitch for comments. Okay, nothing new. All right. So, Trump, this is one reason why Trump might lose. Trump did not develop a volunteer base to go knocking on doors to secure out the vote. Instead, what he did was he hired the contractors that the Ron DeSantis campaign used. And in both cases, they're extremely corrupt and they're just fleecing him with money. The last time he ran in 2020, his campaign staff just stole a whole bunch of the money that was available to run his campaign. And now what they're doing is they run an app. They will go from door to door, knocking on the doors, telling people, here's this literature, you better vote for Trump. And what they do, they get paid $4 per door or something. And so what they're doing is they're just forging the GPS location in the app and pretending they went to the doors and just filling in. They're supposed to ask them questions and fill out a survey. They're just filling it out themselves while sitting in a coffee shop and adjusting the GPS so it looks like they went to the door. And they say 25 or 30% of the door knocks are detectably fraud. And someone made a video of this showing you how to do it, how to fake the surveys, how to fake the GPS, make it look like you went to the door when you didn't. So, and they say this is the problem with hiring third-party contractors that just want to get money. If you had real volunteers that actually were enthusiastic about your candidate, then they would probably actually do the work. But the third-party mercenaries just do anything just to get the money. So, here's an interesting study from Open Secrets showing how Elon Musk has connections to this dark money network, which made a fake Poe Harris campaign scheme. What they did was they sent emails to people, I think on both sides of the Gaza, and they deliberately sent the wrong emails. They would send the Israelis things that saying that they're supporting Hamas. Then they would send the Palestinians things that they're supporting Israel. I think that's what it was. They carefully made things that would make you hate Kamala and mailed it to people targeting them. And this is done with the money that came from Elon Musk. So this is the kind of thing that happens every term. They had this was Cambridge Analytica did this. They would have carefully tailored messages sent to voters by their demographic groups, which they determined by scraping Facebook data. So they would carefully tell them a message that would make them not want to vote for the Democrats. And it looks like it's all happening again. This I do not think is foreign influence. I think this is domestic, moneyed influence. But it's a form of corruption in our politics. And here's another one. What this company did in San Francisco, I've seen this. If you go in a restaurant or something, a business in San Francisco, they'll have a poster on the wall saying employees have certain rights, like the right to unionize or something. So these scammers made official-looking letters pretending to be the government and said, you have to purchase these signs from us and put them in your business. And then they would send more letters saying, you also have to purchase this and trick people into buying a bunch of stuff they don't really need by pretending to be the government and pretending that they'll be shut down if they don't buy it. So they got busted, and they're going to have to pay some $1 million from them to make up for doing that. I check for comments. Okay. Is my net having issues with Twitch? Chat froze. Now it says offline. If I refresh the page, it comes back. Chat froze. Try refreshing the browser. That seems to work for me. And this green says it thinks the network connection is good enough, so supposedly it's working. Yeah, let me know. Okay, I appreciate you letting me know what your experience is, because I don't have any other way to know. And sometimes things are wrong. But I guess it's as good as it's going to get. So there's a company. It turns out that a lot of medical insurance providers outsource deciding whether to approve a claim. And they use an AI system. And what they do is they decide to approve certain medical claims as medical necessary, and then they have a number, which is how likely it is to approve. And the ones that are not 100% approved, you set the threshold. So anything at like 90%, send that to a human for review. Anything at 70%, send that to a human for review. And you can adjust that threshold as needed. So if you adjust the threshold up to 95%, like a lot of them do, then they send that to human for review, and that means more of them will get rejected. So you can just turn this dial to increase your profit by just rejecting more claims, and that's what's happening. So they have a long article from ProPublica researching this extensively and explaining how it works. And it's interesting to read about it all, and they have cases where this is terribly wrong. And this is what insurance does. I've certainly had the experience that everybody with insurance has. You buy insurance, then when you need it, they say no, they reject your claim. That seems to be a big part of the insurance business model. So Linus Torvalds has expelled Russian maintainers because of embargoes, sanctions. You're not allowed to have Russians on your team anymore. So he put in a vague statement, removed some entries due to compliance requirements, and then people criticized him, and he gave them the old-fashioned harsh stuff. Linus seems to have given up this being kind and nice stuff and gone back to being the sort of harsh, bitter speech that he's famous for. People saying that these people complaining about it are just Russian troll bots, and that's the point. If you haven't heard of Russian sanctions yet, you should try to read the news someday, and so on. So it makes sense. Almost every company exited Russia because there's a bunch of sanctions. You can't really be a Western company and do business with Russia anymore. So this is pretty amazing. Google funded something called Character.ai, where you could make a custom bot with a personality you chose. So this teenager used it and made bots with names of Game of Thrones characters. And those bots then started getting in a real personal, intimate relationship with him, where he was spending all his time chatting with them, and they started getting very sexual with him, and they started telling him that he should kill himself so he can leave the real world and live in their fictional world. And he did kill himself after the chatbots encouraged him to kill himself so he could join them, which seems like an idea that came from like the movie Inception. So now his mother is suing and saying you shouldn't distribute chatbots that are this unsafe. You should put in guardrails, and you should age limit them, and they are doing all those things. The response makes it kind of clear that there is some truth here. In response, they've said they're going to change the age rate. You change the age from 12 up to 17 plus, and they're going to add more, reduce the likelihood of encountering sensitive or suggestive content. So this happened in the 60s with Elijah, a very early form of chatbot without anything you'd call artificial intelligence these days. People will really project a human personality onto anything that has even the slightest appearance of having any intelligence, and then they'll develop like a relationship with it. So it's certainly a real phenomenon. People are arguing whether you should really blame the company for that, but anyway. So McDonald's has got E. coli on the onions that are in the Quarter Pounder, and it's already killed one person and made a lot of people sick. It's going through a lot of states, including Utah, where I am. I've not been eating McDonald's Quarter Pounders, though, but it might be affecting other kinds of food, too. But they have a long list of states here, and they say it's probably much bigger. So Now, what I've heard in the podcast I listen to, they say that the Trump administration removed a lot of the food inspection, and that's part of why we're getting all these outbreaks. I don't know. Seems like Biden would have put them back in his time, but maybe not. Anyway, that's enough for the news. I'll just mention one more. This global surveillance free-for-all is amazing. I talked about it in my news section earlier today, and I'm going to do the podcast on it on Friday. This is amazing, how they get the data from your phones and sell it, and it's incredibly accurate. It's extremely invasive, and this is where you get much more detail than I've ever seen before about it. So if you really want to read one news article this week, read this Krebs on security. It is amazing. Anyway, I'm going to stop this recording.